Welcome back to another episode of Philosophy of Chillin. I'm your host, Download to Connect, and today is gonna be a little different. Um, if you've been watching the past couple episodes, there have been guests and different people joining me and adding in and contributing their ideologies. So today is kind of a special episode. Um, I started this podcast um, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. What is it? It's November, October, September, August, July, June, May. Yeah, so about 5 or 6 months ago. Dang. Um, with that being said, um, today is the 26th episode. And that's a big number for me because that's the day I was born. And this is the number that I'm going to staple as the end of season one. Um, I like to show progression in the content that I make. And although this might be a different episode number and they'll go up from here, I still want to commemorate the fact that each season that you see is coming from a full cycle of, 26 and seeing me. Um, well, that's how I acknowledge it. Me seeing how 26 is just showing, okay, I didn't think anybody would be interested in doing this with me. I have a lot of ideas and things that I would like to discuss and talk about, and I go past the surface level. So I know that having episodes, whether it would be 26 interviewees or just me, being able to have this accomplishment is big for me. So I'm going to wrap this season with a personal episode, honestly. Um, and I think the not I think, but I know the topic that I want to discuss today has to deal with consistency. Um, and that's basically what the theme is going to be. So, consistency. It's a big word, but essentially, what I want to go through in dissecting consistency is just trying to understand what levels are there and how do you walk through it, protecting your mental, physical, and everything else. And when I was thinking about this and what to discuss and what questions, how can I phrase what I want to ask, I realized that consistency isn't really what it seems to be. A lot of people just say the word, it takes consistency, it takes consistency, it takes consistency. Okay, yeah, we know that, duh. Like, but what are the layers of it? And when I think of consistency, it goes to so many different areas. So I want to break some of those down today just to analyze outwardly how I am trying to grow in my journey of consistency while also addressing the different levels that fold into it, because I don't think consistency is just one thing. I think it's a masking um, word or terminology that kind of gives you a surface level idea of everything that has to go into consistency. So with that, I just want to start off by saying when I think of consistency, I don't think of, oh, I'm doing this every day. I associate consistency to reliability. And from my perspective, that reliability is so much stronger because consistency consistency make the way it's used makes it seem like I have to do this thing every single day in order to be on top of my shit. When really that's not what it is. Consistency is taking the steps and actions to be reliable or to show that you are reliable so that someone else can feel comfortable going to you with something. Um, that's why, in terms of consistency, it doesn't just deal with your job or your personal life. Like, it literally is embedded into everything you do and can result from good or bad sides. It's not can result, but it can result in or come from, you know, good or bad habits, things that you do, what have you. And going back to the reliability aspect, can somebody rely on you to show up in the way that you say you're going to do? And that can get a little tricky. And with consistency, you don't have to do everything right then and there. It may seem like it. Even I know for me, like I when I get an idea in my head, I'm like, okay, I gotta do it right now, or I'm gonna forget, or it's just gonna turn into a stage of procrastination where it's like it's circling in my head. It's just so many other things that I'm trying to position or do in between that's impeding me on getting this thought out or doing this action. And that's where that misconception comes from because you can appear to be consistent, but on the back end, let's say you're focusing for 4 hours, a hyper focus, a direct focus for the day, and you get a list of things done that can set you up for a week, 2 weeks, 4 months in advance. On the outside looking in, somebody's like, oh dang, they posting every day, they doing this, they doing that. But on the real side, no, I just made sure that I was focused and honed in for a period of time so that I could accomplish things that can operate without me having to physically and manually go in there and everything else. And that can get a little tricky because on the front end, yeah, you are putting this workout and doing this and doing that, and people are seeing it, and it's you know fueling that reliability of people knowing, okay, well, if you're a DJ, if you're an artist, if you're a business professional, I can see that this is something that you're committed to doing and you're showing up for it consistently. You feel me? So it's like that builds that reliability for someone else to be like, oh, okay, well, shit. I can go to them because even if they're giving me, or even if they're not on it today, I know from the past and from the future of what they've communicated, this is something that they're still aiming to do. And it's it's understandable because that forward facing um, perception is what's needed to create opportunities or build them from the ground up, or get someone to offer them to you because they can see you. You know what I'm saying? um, but on a more introspective level, there's a mindset that you have to have in order to perform or have that high regard of reliability and consistency. Yeah, it may not look like, okay, I'm doing this one activity every single day. I may be doing it 4 days out the week, 5 days out the week. I may be doing it sporadically every day at different times of the day, but at least it's getting done in general. But that mindset has to come from somewhere bigger than yourself and your comfortability, because consistency is not easy. That's why people speak so highly of it, because your mentality can really play a role in how you evaluate what it looks like for you. And that's what I'm really trying to understand and speak about more, or just dissect a little bit. Because let's say you're a person that's just doing what you have to do. You may not like your job, you may not like the people around you, but because of the stipulations regarding the situation, you're consistently in an environment that isn't serving you. You're consistently doing an activity that doesn't really fill you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can, on the, again, on the surface level looking in, or on the surface level itself, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this person consistently going to their job, they consistently, like, they doing this, they doing that, cool. But on the inside, it's like, okay, well, are you dragging yourself to do it? Does it, when you think about the action that you're about to do, does it depress you? You know what I mean? And yeah, it can on the surface level look like consistency, but when you go deeper than that, it's more so about what are you really forcing yourself to do. And that motivation can be stemmed to so many different things. And what I found over time is that, yeah, someone can be consistent. You just have to put the right thing in front of them. Like money. You don't like this job, but I can pay you, and I can get you to the resources and the accessibility so that you can, fulfill your childhood dreams, or, just do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, what I found to really drive a healthy flow of consistency, to where you feel like, okay, this is how I know this is good for me, is understanding what's the ideas, or what are the thoughts that are aiding you to actually perform the action. Okay, stay with me. Let's say a singer, artist, a coach, they're having a hard time in life, dealing with a lot of ups and downs personally, and essentially they're working every day, but they love it. Like, okay, life is beating me down, but I love doing what I'm doing right now, whether it be talking to students, or seeing the passion and drive in somebody's eyes. Um, all those things combined, it's like, okay, with my consistency, I know that even if I were not able to show up, I know for a fact that this is the environment that fuels me even through those down phases, those down times, those down periods in life in general. And what that can look like is, okay, somebody just died around me. I take a couple months off, or I take a time frame to where I have to take a couple weeks to recollect myself and assess my brain and everything that I'm feeling, and I'm trying to express. I take a couple weeks off, but in those weeks that I'm taking off, I can see that the actions that I've done prior to this happening people are still interested in wanting to work with me, check on me, you know, um, do do things that I wasn't really paying attention to before. And I'm trying to talk about this in the perspective of not just my own, but of things that I've seen as well. And that's kind of why I wanted to go into this topic of today, because that aspect of assessing oneself and one situation, it stems from that voice in your brain that tells you, oh, I should be doing this, oh, I should be doing that. But at the end of the day, like, you can only do what you choose to and what your body allows you to do. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to assessing someone's consistency, those things weigh on each other when you're in a space where you can't show up in the ways that you've done before. Let's say you hate the job, or let's say you don't like these certain people, but up until this point you've shown up in a certain way that they've gotten used to. And now, when you're in a state of assessing what's good for you have to think about your way of being consistent in that environment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to evaluate your standards, evaluate your communication, evaluate your boundaries. And all of that goes into consistency, because it's not just about you and what you're choosing to do, it's about the people around you as well. The people that have now grown accustomed to the reliability that you provide with the consistency that you have been showing, it all ties. And that's where a lot of frustration can be found and can be experienced, because at the end of the day, it's an expenditure of your energy. And that's really what consistency is. How are you allocating your time? How are you allocating your energy? How are you showing up to let someone know that this is what I am willing to do, and this is what and how I will perform it for you? You know what I'm saying? Um and I wanted to talk about this particular topic because it's so ingrained to the different levels of success that people attest to. And I didn't want that I didn't want that ideology around consistency to be unmasked. I mean, to remain unmasked, because again, people say it, but what goes into it? Like, what's making me do this? Like, it's a really big question and experience because of the emotion. Like, it's so easy to beat yourself up if you don't get something done. And just speaking from my own experience and my own, like, level of reflection, to be consistent doesn't mean you have to be doing everything every day. Being consistent means I'm sticking to the words that I'm saying, and I'm standing on it. You know what I mean? And that in itself, when you're trying to understand not just who you are, but what your personality can thrive in, and understanding how you want to walk in this life, it's it's important to take that time to understand what you are trying to be consistent in, because it's not just a routine. It's how are you choosing to show up in any environment you're in. It doesn't have to be business. It doesn't have to be creative. It doesn't have to be professional. Um, It doesn't have to be pertaining to your job. Even with your spirituality. Okay, how am I being consistent and trying to gain guidance outside of the people around me? Like, yeah, it's cool to have, you know, a support system and people that are giving you, you know, avenues and opportunities to better yourself or grow. But at the end of the day, what is supposed to be for you? You're an individual. So, what's for you and your journey, even though you can relate, form relationships, and communicate, that's great. But even with the help and support you're getting, it can be cool. It can get you resources, it can get you what you're looking for. But does it really have to deal with where you want to be or where not want? Because you can want to be somewhere and that ain't in your divine plan. You feel me? And I've experienced that firsthand. So when I say, like, okay, consistency, to me, that's just reflecting the fact that, okay, I need to be consistent in knowing where to ground myself and where to go to, even amongst all of the voices that are trying to contribute. And that's a level that goes into the other aspects of what consistency is deemed to be. Showing up in the gym every day. Okay, if you're a person that God is like, look, this disease, I have to show that people are able to grow from this or able to do things differently while still accomplishing something else or accomplishing this general goal, like going to the gym. Well, consistency is okay, I have this disease or I feel or I have this thing that's hindering me, but I'm choosing to assess different ways at which I can still accomplish what I need to do every single day. So it can be so intricate, and at the end of the day it still relates to the same thing. How are you showing up in things that are deemed to be what you're trying to put yourself in alignment with? So I guess for me, talking about consistency is really just me reflecting on the fact of, with this podcast in general and just in my life, there are going to be consistent uploads, maybe at inconsistent times or inconsistent times. Um, I don't know. English is tricky, man. But even with that being said, it's like, okay, I might fall off some days, but I'm still choosing to show up. I'm still choosing to put myself out there. I'm still choosing to do what um, I feel like I need to do. But at the same time, I'm being consistent in trying to protect my mental from the new environments and the new opportunities and everything else, not for a good or bad thing, but just from a standpoint of, I want to make sure what got me here is being protected and preserved because, again, it's about, at the core, reliability. The way I've been showing up, can I make sure that I can elevate that and communicate that as I continue to move forward? Because the one thing about consistency is, once you understand what it looks like for you, actions wise, it's not about, okay, well, what's the new thing I can do? You pretty much do the same thing. You just evolve in your skill sets. You evolve in your tactics. You evolve in general. So as you're still doing relatively the same thing, it looks differently. You know what I mean? And essentially, for this platform, in terms of consistency, it's not just what am I doing physically, it's how am I making sure I'm consistent in the things that are healthy for me. And when it comes to what's next and what's coming up, it's not going to always look the same. You know, it might be some episodes where it's a little different. Conversations will be different. The people will be different. There might be some returning, you know what I mean? But it's supposed to always evolve. It's not supposed to stay the same. Yeah, tradition is supposed to be preserved, but it's more about the principle, not the immediate actions that are needed to execute it. Consistency is more so about preserving the entity. Okay, I know that this exercise, this regimen is good for me and it's going to help preserve my health on a long time period. So that's kind of what it plays off of and what it, draws back to. So I say all this to say this is episode 26. There's more to come. There's more experiences that are going to be had. There's more growth that's going to be had. And as this continues, I'm just excited to see how I evolve and, develop within this space and what it gives back to you all, for the individuals that are actually staying tuned and watching these episodes and really listening for the principles that are being communicated. You may not agree with everything. Trust me, I may not either. But it's about respecting that understanding and being consistent in standing in your own ideologies, but respecting the ideologies of everyone else and still going about your business. You feel me? So, with that being said, there's probably going to be more about this topic said in between some episodes, or I might do a part two. I don't know. But I just wanted to come on here and let everyone know thank you. I truly appreciate you. I this is a moment for me because I recognize it as growth, and not just growth but coming far to a certain degree from where I started. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this today, because I want this to be a space where y'all are seeing a form of reliability on me, from me, my bad, a form of reliability from me, because this is something that I feel like I'm supposed to be showing up for. And don't get me wrong, I have had plenty of moments in my life where I see something I want and I try to go after it, I try to communicate it, and I will have a divine intervention. And whether it be taking over my words, taking over my actions, to where I'm just a preview watching the movie. I mean, an audience member watching the movie. I'm just like, I'm not in control. But even when I have moments like that, I come to realize that at the end of the day, even if I want this, even if I really, really, really like am trying to put my everything in this, at the end of the day, God is still gonna place me where they want me. And I have to deal with everything in between. So with that being said, that's a little bit about how I'm seeing consistency. So I'll see y'all soon. Stay tuned for season 2. All right. Y'all gotta go. Peace.